I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zeiss Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Arcane Mark. Today we are continuing Linda's adventure Shattered Star with part 3 as the PCs delve into the dungeons beneath the Lady's Light.
That's right.
Since we haven't visited this story in a little while, how about we give a quick recap of what do we mean by the PCs?
That's right. So, have any of these even gotten up on YouTube? Probably not even the first one, even though it was a long time ago.
I don't think so yet.
Okay. So, well, when it is on YouTube, you've probably already heard this if you're hearing this on YouTube, but what we've got for the PCs are Cordelia Perseus, who is a Taldan diviner wizard, foresight diviner, often pre-rolls a d20 to figure out what's going to go on in the future, and then uses that die result. There's also Aryan Road Thriceborn, who is a Fey sorceress who follows the eldest map of the three, who is an eldest of sort of divining the past, present, and future and choosing paths. And she is, Aryan Road is sort of inveterate about tricking opponents rather than necessarily killing them. And then there is Memory of Dreams, who is a Khalid barbarian who really likes to protect allies and listen to sun shamans and moon shamans, which to Memory of Dreams are just anybody with sun or moon related powers, depending on whether it's the day or the night.
Speaking of people with sun or moon related powers, I'm the GM for this game, and I have two GM PCs that I was running to round out the group.
One sun shaman and one moon shaman.
One sun shaman and one moon shaman. The moon shaman being Masami, or Margaret Smith, as she goes by as her fake name. And Asimar, cleric of Tsukio from Tianjing, who is protecting, who fled from her homeland in order to get a sealed evil away from that area so that it couldn't escape, and wound up getting wrapped up in these adventures. And a Lion Blade aspirant, Lucia de Soleil, who is a devout follower of Sarenrae and a dervish dancing bard. And all 5 of these characters, as well as some cohorts that they pick up through the course of the campaign, are based off of some of our PFS characters. So if you ever played PFS with us, you may have seen some of these folks before too.
That's true. So anyway, last time we left our group, and considering we're like a Sarenrae, Lion Blade, that's very interesting. Yes, Lucia is very interesting. Especially when you're talking about the fact this was in Pathfinder 1st Edition before some of the timing retcons. Her sort of beliefs about devout belief in Sarenrae, but just like anger with the fact that cultists of Sarenrae who were like perverting the worship towards attacking people were messing around with the religion was like a very strong plot point for Lucia. Alright, anyway, we left our group. They had found a way.
They navigated through the swamp up to the lighthouse of the Lady's Light, where they had the nest of the They went through a swamp, then they went through some caves. They dealt with all sorts of things on the way, and they were in search of a shard of the Shattered Star.
That's right.
Which they had come to believe was inside of this lighthouse.
We were pretty sure because each shard tells you where to find the next one with visions, and the vision was very prominently recognizable as the Lady's Light. So there had been a group of Zulgas and a group of Boggards, and we converted the Zulgas towards Shellen, and the Boggards presented more issues, but we turned some of their groups against the others and then had to take down some of their demon cultists. But eventually we got them to stop killing each other, and we went into the tunnels, past some Solifigids and carried columns, and we were about to jump into potentially a weird dark pit. So we noticed that the pit was dark, We dropped a stone into it. We could not hear it hit the bottom at all. And so then we dropped a stone with a light on it into there. And when we did that...
You didn't see anything either.
When we did that, we realized that there were some problems. Because of the fact that
this
there was clearly a deeper darkness effect.
And a silence effect going on in this pit.
Yes, because we attached a rope to the next stone. And we could tell that it did reach the bottom, but it fell really slowly. And it made no sound. So, yeah, there was a deeper darkness, a silence, and a feathered fall.
I wondered what you guys were going to do about that. And you're just like, let's experiment with this stone. Wait, that doesn't happen. And you wound up figuring out all 3 effects that were on the pit.
So we then wound up creating a system of ropes because we were worried if we just jumped into the shaft that it might, like, dump us out through a hole in the ceiling, but that was not on a shaft all the way to the bottom, and then we couldn't climb back up. And that is true. That actually happened. But we had enough rope that we had left ourselves in egress. We found ourselves in a room that had a sepulcher in there. Which we immediately identified as a trap that would basically kill you and then put your consciousness into a clone of Sorshan. So
you think when most parties are like, okay, I've identified this trap.
So we set it aside for now.
Yeah.
Cordelia was highly interested in it. She said, okay, don't mess with this now. We're gonna want to bring this trap back. At the very least, and probably use it on purpose. But not yet. And so, after making sure it's safe, because it could be like a trick so that Sorshan can, like, take control of you, and it needed more magical analysis. So, they left that aside, and they wound up heading out to this weird river, and it had a strong current, and it was a whole situation. And we kind of went up the river to the west. And when we did that, there were, I think, some elementals in there, like water elementals.
There's a bunch of water elementals, which much preferred the water to you guys.
That's right. And so there were a whole bunch of water elementals that were kind of creating the current.
And there was a portal to the plane of water. And that was the source of the continuous fresh water in this
lighthouse.
And
we did not try to attack the portal, and the elementals were not were bound to attack you if you attack the portal, so they didn't attack us.
Yes.
And so at that point, like, there was some kind of underwater tunnel that we didn't want to deal with, so because there were boats, and we just took the boats again and headed to the east,
where you came across an underground lake.
Yes.
And in the center of the underground lake, there was an island with a very strange giant glass statue on it.
Yes, it was a glass statue also of Sorshan, just like everything was Sorshan. So at this point also, we had heard, and if you watched the previous episode, from Maru, the half-orc witch, that, like, the Grey Maidens had come out. And they'd been like, Sorshan, our lady, you should worship her. Maru was like, no. And we were thinking, is that actually Sorshan? Because, you know, Karzug rose, but I think we would have heard if it was Sorshan. And Maru was like, I really think it's not. But they think it is. And so we knew there's somebody in here who's pretending to be Sorshan. So, very importantly, we have a character disguised as Sorshan, just for the purpose of, if we come across any Grey Maidens, and they clearly believe that whoever the other person was Sorshan, we could be like, it is I, Sorshan!
One thing we forgot to mention before is that there was another way on that you guys decided not to take, where there was a big ominous door of the Sky Metal Jesuit, and you realized that there was just a way around that you could take by going down the
That's correct. We were worried about the Jesuit door, because there were 2 prongs that would go out, and one of them was a door made of Jesuit, and the other one was not a door made of Jesuit. Although there was like a panel on it that had some message with some names in it. It said, Ayandamala is bound to the light for all ages. So we kept that in mind. And we decided that maybe, like, the person pretending to be Sorshan was actually Ayandamala. I mean, it could have been. It's because the buttons showed send binding succubi and other things as
into
guardians
various
into
objects
various
and
stuff.
structures and things like that.
Yep. So, given all that, we headed out into the middle of the lake, and there was this golem, this glass golem of Sorshen. It was, like, pretty obviously a golem, and not just a glass statue. And so we went there, and we decided to see what would happen if we just came up to the glass golem with all of our characters, including whoever was disguised as Sorshen at the time, which may have been Lucia and not Arya this time.
I think it may have been, yeah.
We switched it around. Eventually, at some point, we switched from Lucia to Arya.
Because she's better at this whole deception business.
Yep. And so, the golem was just kind of just sitting there, and then when we tried to go onto the island, it animated, but it did not attack us because of the fact that we appeared to be Sorshen. It says in the adventure, further, the golem obeys the verbal commands and spoken in Thessalonian of anyone who appears to be Sorshen.
Fortunately, you had the ability to speak Thessalonian in your group.
Lucia spoke Thessalonian and appeared to be Sorshen. So she just committed the golem, and we left the golem behind. It says, even there, it will serve the PC until it's destroyed. This is the only condition under which the golem will leave its post behind. So we just took the golem with us for the entire rest of this dungeon and for future dungeons.
Yes.
Because
she eventually
you could
gained a nickname based on some of the later NPCs that the PCs encounter in this adventure.
Well, we can mention it later, but it's a spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the fact that you can heal glass golems by doing like the correct amount of damage to correct type of damage to it, we were able to like heal her up and keep her around.
She was yet another addition to the PCs had two running lists. Oh, they had several running lists that we had while we were going through this adventure. There was list of people that the PCs actually like killed or had imprisoned instead of diplomacying or tricking. There was list of animals that follow memory of dreams, and there was list of like Cordelia. What was it, like Cordelia's construct army?
Construct friends. We already had Fixie the Clockwork Servant, and at some point we got Guardy the Clockwork Soldier and Sneaky the Clockwork Spy. Although I think some of that may have been Kermaga, and so they're in order of how powerful they are, and not in order of when we got them. But we added this glass golem to that. And Memory of Dreams at this point had Batty Bat, who knew the Deliver, Fetch, Heal, Seek, Get Help, Sheila, and Cassidy, and Flee commands. And two Cave Moray, Flotsam and Jetsam.
Yes.
Flotsam knew Heal, Seek, attack unnatural creatures, watch and detect, and Jetsam knew Heal, Seek, attack unnatural creatures, watch and detect.
Also.
And Geganolog, the Hydra, the Pyrohydra, who knew Heal, Defend, attack unnatural creatures, come and down.
And cause party to earn extra treasure based on
well, that happens later on.
Stuff, which we'll get into later on.
That is the funniest thing. Oh, hey, Nitrace and Numbat. Welcome.
Hi, Rico.
Hey, everyone. So, anyway, after we picked up that glass golem, we wound up seeing that there were also some graves that looked like they may have been, like, Grey Maidens because of the fact that they had these Grey Maiden shields and maybe they died. We saw the golem was injured. It's like maybe they went up to the golem and attacked it and then died. And that is what actually happened and also what we thought was what happened. So then after that, we kind of kept going forward. And there was, like, a lascivious mural, because why wouldn't there be in Sorshen's dungeon?
Area? Yep.
And then, at that point, we also found random bare-chested Dhampir magus, because a lot of magi in Pathfinder 1st Edition were bare-chested.
Yep.
And Naeus Naru, with a G in both cases, is one of them. Or Gnaeus, Gnaru.
It didn't come with a pronunciation guide, okay?
That's right. I feel like I didn't even remember that it was GN. So yeah, we may have done it Gnaeus or just Naeus. And
I don't
who knows.
remember.
And anyway, Neas Naru, it was a Dhampir who had this whole backstory
about like being a
like,
sellsword and then a bodyguard, and then he was going through, and then he
was in Nadal, and he got captured by quote Sorshen, and kept in this area, and basically,
and
like
then
he's
quote Sorshen eventually decided that she was bored of him and was like, just go guard this area.
He was supposed to ask for a passphrase in this area. It's like, greetings, friends or foes. What be you? And you're supposed to say, like, he's like, when you speak the passphrase for me, you're supposed to say, in Mighty Sorshen's name do we come to serve the Lady of the Light. But, we had Sorshen, and she was like, I'm not going to say the passphrase, but I'm glad you're asking people for it.
Yeah, and he's all like, why did you abandon me?
And so then Lucia had to make some stuff up about why she abandoned him. And we eventually realized that he was bespoke first edition multi-charmed. Is a special condition that many NPCs across multiple adventures had, that was based on the charm spell, and so we wound up putting in second edition the inveigle ritual so that it would help with that kind of situation. But he was bespoke first edition multi-charm, where he was charmed so many times that he was now just like really under the influence, and we were able to eventually dispel the charm on him, at which point then he was mad at Sorshen, and then we convinced him that
this was not the actual Sorshen.
This was not the same Sorshen. No.
Oh, no, sorry, it was a different Sorshen.
No, we convinced him that the one who charmed him was the fake Sorshen, and we were the actual Sorshen.
Yes.
But also not the one who messed with him. I'm much more powerful.
You're right. It's hard to keep track of how many layers of deception your PC
And so he agreed to leave and thanked us for that. But, like, a lot of his equipment had been just stripped off by fake Sorshen anyway at that point. But he gave, like, a wand as thanks for saving him. And then we headed onward into another room that had more constructs.
Yes. There are many constructs here. Some marble sentinels.
That's right.
That activated when you guys came into the area.
Well, we realized that they were constructs, and then we avoided coming within the right
10
distance
feet of them. Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
Yeah, well, they only activated.
Well, wait a minute. There was almost no room.
Was this one of the ones that you tricked with your whole like doesn't attack Sorshen business?
I don't think it had that requirement. I think it was like actually hooked up to the fake Sorshen in some way. Let me see. I could actually check to see if it was on the list of the few things that we killed. Although we may not have listed destroyed constructs.
Destroyed. Yeah, I don't think you necessarily listed mindless.
Let's see.
Wasn't your list non-mindless things that you...
Non-mindless things.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because Spider Swarm was in there.
Okay,
well... it says we didn't, but I also don't see constructs in here, so I don't remember exactly. It's been a little while.
Either, so.
There was a pit. Oh, we're coming to an encounter I will never forget.
Yes.
There was a pit that we were able to get around. It had like some weird magical stuff that was going on in that area. And then this next one is not the one I'm never going to forget, but there was an incubus down there. We did kill the incubus because it's a demon. It's there on our list. It's next one after 3 times albino cave solificate is incubus. And the one after that, that's where we're going to really get into it. So we killed that incubus. Then in the next room, there was this giant chamber that had like a weird gray flame in it. And since we had the Rune of Lust, it did not cause cacodemons to attack us.
That's pretty convenient, not being attacked by cacodemons.
That was pretty good. Whereas we killed the incubus because of the fact that the incubi were too problematic. There were multiple of them around, and they could have potentially teleported and told the other Sorshen, and they had a lot of skills to figure out that we weren't the same Sorshen as before.
They also failed your evil test of things that are like completely unredeemably, unrepentantly evil.
That's true. I mean, they are really horrible demons of sexual violence. But also, I think, like, they had telepathy and were expecting us to have it too. And there were other issues, and we just had to take it down before it could teleport away. So after not being attacked by cacodemons, which was a definitive plus, we decided that we saw stairs going up, but we wanted to finish this floor first. And
the classic one floor at a time.
Yeah,
so
you want to do that. And so we found a hall of bed chambers, and that seemed like it could be pretty handy. Except for we noticed that there was like a really dangerous trap in the area. So we disarmed that. There was a awesome bed chamber, and then a bunch of smaller bed chambers, and we didn't necessarily need to rest yet, so we kept going. And there was like a preparatory room, and then in the middle, in between that and 3 other rooms, there was like this spring of water. It was like a pool. Linda's immediately laughing at this pool. And so we saw that like in one of the rooms there was like alchemy, and there were some oozes in there, but they were very slow.
And they were very kiteable.
And we honestly didn't even kill them. We just wound up not really.
Was this not where you? Yeah, I know you.
The thing is that the urns contained the oozes, and we didn't let them out.
That's right.
There was oozes we kited soon after this. And there was an enchantment laboratory, and while people were like searching this out, like after all of the stuff that had been going on, like Aryan Road, being a Fae sorceress, was just like, you know what? I'm gonna take a swim in this pool of water.
It looks nice.
It looks great. And so, she got into a better outfit for bathing, went into the pool of water, and Linda's like, okay, greater dispelling, with cast level 20, it dispels all of your buffs. And she's like, oh man. Because we had a lot of buffs.
Yeah.
But she's like, you know what, I paid for this bath with all my buffs. I'm gonna keep swimming. I'm gonna
enjoy this bath.
You guys keep doing that. And they opened up one more room, and inside of that room, there was a fiendish Sugathi. So Sugathi are like one of the most busted monsters around. And I would say the fiendish Sugathi was the most busted encounter in this AP, but in part 3, we'll find one that is more busted than that. The fiendish Sugathi. Because Sugathi, they have an aura that confusions you every round, and then they can confusion you for 3 rounds again, and then they control you when you're confused.
Yes.
So anyway, the Fiendish Sugathi, due to some pretty bad luck on our saves, managed to confuse everyone. Everyone. Not just some people, but everyone.
Yes. All 6 PCs.
Yes. And it won initiative, and it was not the closest creature to most of us. Arya was not very close to it, but was still in the radius because the area was not very big, but the other PCs were all closer to each other. So this could have been a big problem because of the fact that it can control one of them, and it was going to pick the barbarian and just have him murder kill the rest of the people. So the good news is, like, some of the people acted normally. That helped. But the big thing that helped was that Arya was swimming in this pool, so when it was on her turn, again, just like every turn she'd been here, Linda was just kept saying, okay, I'm greater dispelling everything. And so on my turn, I was like, oh crap. I was like, wait, is it going to greater dispel the confusion?
It's like, well, 100%
said,
chance
yes.
it's going to affect that because all of your other buffs are gone while this time you've been
because
swimming.
It was called the cleansing room. It was meant to help you get rid of enchantments and other magical effects from the other rooms.
Yes.
So it greater dispelled the confusion on Arya. So she didn't have any of her buffs, but she also like couldn't be confused because the pool kept.
At the beginning of every one of her turns, the pool would
like,
greater dispel
it
the
was
confusion again.
like the least intelligent thing that like I've had a character do that turned out to be like the thing that saved us. It's just like bathing in this random, very sketchy water that dispelled all of my buffs and magic items.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were able to defeat the Fiendish Sugathi by the skin of our teeth. And we all told Lucia, who pretended to be a worshiper of Shelyn because of the fact that back then Saren Ray was like on the outs in Taldor until it was retconned that she wasn't. We were like, you're a worshiper of Shelyn, why don't you have an unbreakable heart? And she didn't.
Yes.
And then she didn't get it after this encounter, even though the other PCs told her to multiple times. To go to the Temple of Shelyn and try to learn Unbreakable Heart. Because we were so terrified of the Phoenix Sugathi. So, yes, I'll never forget that Phoenix Sugathi.
Well, fortunately,
you know what else? It also had a wand of cure critical wounds in its tail.
Yes, it did.
So when I thought it was going to be okay, I was like, it has a wand, but it hasn't used it to attack us. It's probably like Scorching Ray or something. It's not that good. It's like, oh yeah, I heal myself for all this damage and I confuse you again.
Yep. Well, fortunately, in addition to that wand, the room where you fought the ridiculous Sugathi had
have a minor artifact.
It had a minor artifact tome in it.
Yeah, it recharges its tomeness every month, and it gives you knowledge bonuses in addition to being a tome of clear thought +1. That was very handy. I'm not going to say that the treasure that we got was not even more ridiculous, but the Sugathi was also very, very ridiculous.
MVP pool of dispelling your buffs, cast your level 20 every round.
It's pool of dispelling everything, not just our buffs.
Yep.
So that was how we completed that floor, and we actually didn't really trick that many people. We still had Glass of Mintaloo, which was helpful.
But that's what her name will be.
That's what her name was later. Sorry, we had the glass column, which was helpful because she was immune to confusion. But then Lucia herself got confused, and she would have had to issue orders, and it was not attacking yet. And we got Lucia out, but then the thing was like, wait, if I command Lucia, I can get the golem
to attack, and
it was a mess. So at that point, we decided that it was time to go to the next floor.
Well, you rested first, but yes.
We did. We rested in those nice bedrooms. And other than the horrible trap that was on the door, there weren't, like, continually additional bad things that were going to happen.
You went from, like, being on a ship's cabin to being in a swamp and going through all these kinds of things. So it was like, yeah, you know what, we're going to rest here.
I mean, we had rested before going to the ladies' lab, but we rested again just because the Sugathi just wrecked us.
Yeah. No, I mean that you hadn't, like, rested somewhere nice in quite a while.
Yes. And it was nice. Like, it was a good place to rest. So we came up to the second floor, and this floor was even more watery than the last floor.
Yes.
And it had Thessalonian and a Thessalonian thing that said farewell that had moderate conjuration, which we were wondering if it would, like, teleport us back to leaving the area.
You were pretty suspicious of it, though.
So we decided not to use it because it could also be like farewell in the terms of you're dead or you're going to jail. So we just didn't want to trust it. There were some rowboats though, so we went off into this cool looking phosphorescent lake, and there were some Lacedons there, but we basically just intimidated them. It was like, do you really want to attack us? Like, we've got Sorshan, and we've got this glass golem, and we're very dangerous, and talking about all the stuff we did as they were kind of swimming slowly toward us through the black water, and they were like, nah.
Maybe not with the whole attacking them thing.
This is not the group we should attack. I mean, like, honestly, this encounter with 8 Lacedons is, like, mega uber trivial.
Yeah. So
they're CR1 Lacedons. So it's not surprising that we managed to convince them not to attack us. It did not take a lot of convincing.
Prodding, yes.
And so
when you brag about defeating a fiendish Sugathi, then
yep. So we headed out onto this platform that was pretty close by, and it was like a long hallway, and it led us to this giant on a throne who had, like, long tusks.
And glowing red eyes.
But the thing about her that was an issue at first was that she was convinced that she was Sorshan.
Yes.
Yes. She was convinced that she was Sorshan and that she was like, kneel, mortals, I am Sorshan.
So we have the party, which includes a fake Sorshan who is talking to another fake Sorshan. And the party suspects that there is more fake sorceresses to come in this dungeon. Because they're like, well, somebody had to be the person who was convincing these Grey Maidens that they were sorcerer, and we really don't think that it's this cave giant here.
And she was like, dare you enter my throne room, kneel, or I shall call off my lizards, because she had lizards. And she was not actually commanding the lizards, so she couldn't do it anyway. But...
yeah, yes, the lizards just didn't attack her because they were afraid of her.
That's right. And she was also charmed by the other Sorshen, but she still thought that she was Sorshen.
She was pretty confused.
It was very confusing, and it's very unclear, but the point was that we decided to go along with her claims of being Sorshen, but the lizards still went back down, and Memory of Dreams got them to stop attacking us.
Thus adding the lizards to your list of people that Memory of Dreams had managed to convince to not attack.
Yes, we didn't get them to join us. You didn't get them to join
you, but you were able to get them not to attack
you. And we convinced her that, like, we were with her and that there was a fake Sorshen that was not her, and we were going to investigate on behalf of her, the real Sorshen, these rumors of fake Sorshen. While we were there, we saw an inscription on a platinum plate that said, a gift from my mistress Sorshen from her humble servant Ayandamala, dedicated this celebrated day, the 25th anniversary of her ascension to rulership in Eurythnia, present Moonlord Sorshen Ayandamala and her daughters Ashamintalu and Erixdelex, Lord and Lady of the Burning Bright, etc., etc. Just said this is a really long thing. And we basically stole that from under the cave giant's nose, because we were like, well, if this is actually a Yandamala, maybe this plate will help us, like, bind her or something.
Yeah.
We didn't really know.
You didn't know,
we were just stealing things. It was also Linda said that it was worth, like, 3,000 GP to a scholar.
Yeah.
And we were hired by a scholar who was likely to pay us that full value.
GP,
so we couldn't not steal something that was that valuable. And she totally did not notice. We didn't literally scrape things off the throne or anything, but we did steal the plate right out from under her.
Yes.
And she hired us to figure out, investigate the fake Sorshen. So, at that point, there were some...
So, a fake Sorshen has hired a fake Sorshen to investigate a fake Sorshen.
Yes.
At this point.
It was everything. So, there were ghoul bats in the area.
Ghoul bats.
That's right. Also known as scavelings, or as we call them, ghoul bats. But they just chose not to attack us, which we chose to interpret as that they don't attack someone who looks like Sorshen. And the answer was yes.
Yes, they don't attack someone who looks like Sorshen. They
know better than to attack Sorshen. And so they would only have attacked us if we attacked them, and we did not. So that took us further deeper into the lake.
This is, of all of the places where the PCs use weird disguises to get around things, this adventure had a lot more of, if there's somebody who looks like Sorshen, then this thing happens guidance than later than other adventures compared to this one.
Yeah, so we only had 2 actual combat encounters in floor K. Here on floor L, we had not fought anything yet. That was soon to change.
Yes.
Because we made it to the Bright Grotto. And when we were in the Bright Grotto, we found there were some Grey Maidens nearby. And the Grey Maidens, there were also corpses in the water. And we managed to convince some of the Grey Maidens who were near to the grotto, after we found their secret door, that we were Sorshen and some new recruits who wanted to join Sorshen and potentially the Grey Maidens. Plus also our porter, Memory of Dreams, because the Grey Maidens only accept women, and everyone except Memory was a woman. So, just like last time we were in an a group of all women, we said Memory was our porter, and it was fine, because he clearly had the highest strength.
And that also spared Memory from needing to get too hyper involved in the diplomacy and deception, which
that's correct.
Which weren't so much his strong points compared to some of the other PCs.
So we talked to them about the corpses in the water, and we discovered that there's like this hag with lobster clawed gremlin that was killing the Grey Maidens, and as punishment from Sorshan, and we were like, our Sorshan was like, oh no, that was a mistake, and they shouldn't be killing your people. The hag was lying to you, and we basically convinced the Grey Maidens that we were gonna go after that hag because the hag is ridiculously evil, and it seems like she was torturing and murdering people, and so were the gremlins. And as far as Arya knew from her Fey knowledge, like, these were like irredeemable, like, bogeyman baddies, not literal bogeymen of the first world,
but thematically, yeah.
So we came down and we cleared them out, and that added Defu the hag and 6 times Fuath gremlins to our list of things that we actually killed.
Yes,
that's right. And when we did that, we were able to. We were also able to. We realized that because the Grey Maidens told us that some people didn't seem like their corpses had washed out, that they might not be dead.
You were able to find and rescue one of the Grey Maidens that the hag and the Fuaths had captured.
And she decided that she did not like being tortured by hag and Fuaths. And she decided that she wanted to join up with us.
Well, she had already started to believe that the Sorshan that she had been following was not the real Sorshan.
Yes, so we told her the truth,
quote,
which is that we were the real Sorshan, and the one she'd been working for before was a fake Sorshan, but that we were going to tell all of her fellow Grey Maidens that we were the same Sorshan they were working for, just to grease the wheels up a little bit, and make it so that we didn't have to fight them because we didn't want to hurt them.
Yes.
And she decided that was reasonable. So she told the story of how they got kind of captured and then charmed by this.
And she also told you that she suspected that the fake Sorshan that she had been working for, like, wasn't really, had forgotten that she wasn't the real Sorshan. And so if you could find ways to prove to her that she wasn't the real Sorshan, that it would disturb her enough that it would give you an advantage against her.
And she also thought it was a succubus, which made us more suspicious that it was a Yandamala, who was the succubus that was stated to be bound in the lighthouse. So we were very happy that we had that plate, because we were like, okay, that's pretty good. We've got a plate. That's going to help us. We did, in fact, possibly need it for this situation. So, at that point...
I mean, you definitely, like, oftentimes have your characters collect and hold on to various items that may possibly be useful. And a lot of times they may not be relevant, but when you do that enough times, you're going to get things that are super useful.
Yep. So, at that point, we debated whether or not we were going to bring, like, all of the Grey Maidens with us in a group, but we decided not to because they kept obviously being killed by some of these creatures. But Halanda told us how to get to the higher floors, which was handy because it wasn't all just literally being Sorshan that got us to the higher floors. In some cases,
it was knowing back ways, or...
Well, you had to show the Rune of Lust, which we did have on, but there was I think a password in one of the areas that she knew what it was. Let's see. It says here that it says here that she could describe how the Grey Maidens made their way into the dungeon below the Lady's Light. Oh, right. No, it's only up to this point mostly showing the symbol of lust and using pheromones to stop the Solifigids. That's why the Solifigids were still there. So, at this point, we've made it past the Grey Maidens. We come through an area with dangerous green slime that we've ignored. There was a perfume trap that we avoided. And there was a bunch of other stuff there too. There was like this secret area where we wound up being attacked by like waves of demons. I think that like was originally Shadow Masters, but Linda changed it into something else. I think.
Yeah, I changed it around too. I changed it around so that it would so that it would be a little more thematic to the idea that it was a manifestation of Nocticula's favor.
Because I think that there was black fog and blood, so that Linda put in like maybe like
shadow. Did I do like shadow demons or
something like that?
Something like that.
Maybe Babau's whatever it was summoned, so we didn't technically kill it, and
so it's not on your kill list.
That's correct. After that, we went through. I think there's like some kind of a teleporter or weird situation that teleports you into this other discontiguous area that had a bunch of lust sin spawn, which look like really freakish.
Yes.
And they thought we were a sword shed.
Yes.
So we gave orders to them and succeeded at our attempt to bluff them, and that worked out.
So you didn't have to worry about getting attacked.
Then we found Hanukkah, who
yes.
There's technically an R in her name, but it's basically Hanukkah. And Hanukkah.
Hanukkah, yes.
Hanukkah, but if you take out the R, it's Hanukkah.
Yes.
Okay?
We just called her Hanukkah.
Hanukkah is an even more freakish looking lust sin spawn, and she, like the other lust sin spawn, basically, she knew that the other sorcerer who was there is a fake sorcerer.
Yeah, because she knew well enough to know who that fake Sorshen's allies were and who she traveled with and who she trusted.
But she also knew that the other Sorshen was a fake Sorshen.
Yes.
Just to begin with, she's one of the few who knew that. But the thing is that we had some Grey Maidens, and we also had our Sorshen. And we managed to trick her and convince her that...
Did you also convince her that you were the real Sorshen?
So...
What did you convince her?
We convinced her that we were the real Sorshen, but... or we convinced her that at least that we were the real fake Sorshen.
Yes.
Because of the fact... It says that Sorshen can be there only with Grey Maiden, but we had Grey Maidens and also these other people who we said were Grey Maiden recruits.
Mm-hmm.
And the Grey Maidens backed us up that they were Grey Maiden recruits, and so she didn't attack us.
Right, so you convinced her that you were the real fake Sorshen.
Yes. So that took us to Quinnell, who was the second command of all of the Grey Maidens who were here. And she was completely enthralled by Sorshen, which was good because we were Sorshen.
Yes.
So we told her that we were Sorshen. We had some of the other Grey Maidens from below who came up with us.
And they all believed that you were that same Sorshen.
That's right. And there are a lot of different Sorshens, so I hope you're following along with which Sorshen is which at this point. So, except for the one Grey Maiden who knew we were pretending to be another, who thought we were another Sorshen who was pretending to be the fake Sorshen, but was the real Sorshen.
Yes, correct.
So, at that point, we went to a barracks where there were even more Grey Maidens, and we decided we did not really need to add those Grey Maidens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, the Vampire Mist and the Babao Demons were a different room.
Oh, they were
than
here.
The Shadow Masters.
Okay.
They were in another room. I was like, I remember something very similar to this that had Vampire Mist and Babao Demons, and they were in another room. So we totally fought Vampire Mist and Babao Demon, and in fact, some kind of Vampire Mist was in our list of things that we defeated.
Mm-hmm.
The Babao Demons were summoned, so they just got unsummoned, but the Vampire Mist was actually there, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think so.
Yeah, they dwelt in the chamber for many years, it says.
And once you made it past these areas, you were able to reach a room that had called the Chamber of the Seven with various statues of rune lords.
Yep. And it said, she who desires to ascend the lady's light must first deign to embrace the lady and the lie. So we thought that the lady and the lie were the lady was Sorshen because it's the lady's light, and the lie was Karzuk because he's generously gifting a golden rose, and that is a lie because he's a greedy jerk who would not do that. But we had a secondary assumption that it could have been Xandergul, the Rune Lord of Pride, because of his illusions, but we thought that the fact that Karzuk was being not greedy was more of a lie than an illusion.
Especially given just generally what Sorshen thought of Karzug.
Yep. Plus, Sorshen actually respected Xandergul, we thought. So she probably wouldn't have done that. Maybe. And so we embraced the correct statues, and that teleported us instead of making us fight medium elementals, apparently.
Yes. Now you're learning what you would have fought.
Multiple waves of elementals. And that took us and the Random Grey Maidens we brought to Oriana, who is the leader of the Random Grey Maidens that we didn't bring. And she had been in here trapped in this puzzle, and just like many PCs who get mad about being trapped in puzzles, she was mad, and she thought maybe we were that Sorshen, who she was at this point angry at, and we then convinced her that we were not that Sorshen, and that we opposed Sorshen using diplomacy, or the Sorshen that she knew of.
Which was tricky to do when you were also... Well, you had at least left behind a lot of those Grey Maidens by this point. You didn't bring them through this trap, right?
We didn't bring Quinnell. We only brought a few that we trusted the most, like the one that we had helped.
But how did you get them to... How did you convince them that you were not the same Sorshen they'd been following after previously claiming to them that you were the same Sorshen that you've been following?
That was easy.
How did you do that one again?
So, what we did was, first of all, we relied heavily on the fact that we already told Halanda that we weren't the same Sorshen. So, then, when we were talking to Oriana, we explained to Oriana that we were not the same Sorshen, and to the other Grey Maidens that were there, that we were, in fact, never the same Sorshen, but that we had to tell them that because we wanted to meet up with Oriana, their leader, and save her here. And they got confused, and the fact that that their leader was saying to go after that Sorshen caused them to fall in line. So at that point, we then gathered Oriana, and we almost immediately were able to use the teleporter to go into the final room, which was known as Sorshen's Boudoir, where we found Sorshen. And by Sorshen, I mean the other Sorshen.
The original fake Sorshen.
The original fake Sorshen that wasn't a cave giant and wasn't us. And by this point, we had also switched over to Aryan Road as Sorshen. I think that was on the lake in this floor before we started messing around with the Grey Maidens, because some of that double talk that I was just talking about required Aryan Road's, specifically Fae perspective, or even triple talk Aryan Road would say. Don't call it double talk. It's 3.
Also, not only that, but that also took the like bluff encounter stuff out of the GMPC hands, which worked a lot better from an adventure running
Once we realized a lot of things reacted to Sorshen for real, and it wasn't just like a silly thing, we kind of switched it on to Arya the next day. So at that point, like, the fake Sorshen, like, gave her a little monologue. It was like, Oriana, my love, this is unexpected. Am I to take it you've returned to my boudoir, and all that kind of stuff. And so then we immediately accused her of being a fake Sorshen. And, we started presenting stuff, and it was really shaking her. And we said that she was a Yandamala, and it seemed to not work. So then we decided to name the 2 daughters that were on the on the plate, and she responded to Asha Mintalu a lot.
Yes.
So it turns out, you guys, that if you address her by the name Asha Mintalu, you get a +10 bonus. If that's the same person who was disguised in Sorshen, which it was Aryan Road, you get a +10 bonus with stacks. The first person to mention the glass golem gets a +5, which we did not know. But
if the golem is present and under PC's control, then you get a +10 bonus.
Which is like, how many people are going to do that? But we did have it. We had the golem there. We had to figure out whether it could teleport, and Linda decided it could. Because the adventure specifically says what happens
if it's present.
Because we had like a rules debate with ourselves for like 10 minutes about whether a golem can actually teleport. And eventually Linda's like, There's actually a mechanic for if you bring the golem, so I'm assuming it can.
Yes.
And then we also got a plus 10 bonus for having the platinum plate. And so that is how Aryan Road got like an 80 or something.
Yes.
Some huge amount on
so
her roll.
she was like shrieking in horror, and she was staggered, and she like had to spend an action to revert to her true form, and she was just really messed up.
So we incapacitated her with enchantment magic, which is maybe ironic. And then we captured her, and we basically got her therapy.
And you were able to...
It was hard because she was bound to the Lady's Light. So we brought in a therapist who was, if you remember Linda's Adventures Council of Thieves, Lainey Axis, the therapist paladin
of Shallan.
Tiefling, part succubus paladin of Shallan. Due to the fact that this was the daughter of a succubus, so she was a half-fiend named Ashamintalu. That's also... We later determined that she'd been bound into the glass golem, but that her mom escaped the lighthouse by tricking the lighthouse into thinking her daughter was going to do the main binding and pulled her out of the golem.
Yeah.
Which was better than being in the golem, but still allowed the mom to escape. So that's why we started calling the glass golem Glassamintalu, because it was the glass golem that Ashamintalu had been bound in.
You didn't call it that in front of Ashamintalu, though.
We did, but it literally says Glassamintalu in the list of constructs that we have. That's what it says, Glassamintalu. So, yeah. That is how we defeated Ashamintalu. We, once she was stunned for that many rounds...
she was, stunned and shaken, and she had negative levels, and,
the penalty from the negative levels, apparently, her will save against enchantments was, through the roof, because she had the Shard of Lust, which gives you bonuses against enchantments, an insight bonus, which I wasn't thinking about, but with her negative levels, she still failed Arya's incredibly unfair save DCs for, enchantment, and so she was enchanted by her own petard.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Arya deserved it. She got an 80 on her check.
Yeah, no, it totally made sense in the story.
And then, at that point, we revealed that we were not actually any kind of Sorshen, but that we were playing a long game, to try to help everybody. And the Grey Maidens were happy, and we convinced them to become Pathfinder Society contacts, some of the other people that we had. There was a whole bunch of magic items in, an Arcane Oubliette behind there. And we got the Shard of Lust.
Yes.
Which we had the Shard of Lust, and so we gave that to, somebody who wanted... It gave a huge initiative bonus, so somebody who wanted a big initiative bonus wound up with the Shard of Lust. Cordelia had the Shard of Pride still.
Yes.
And Memory had the Shard of Greed, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, because of the damage bonus.
Because of the attack bonus.
Or attack bonus. It was something that helped him with his melee attack.
And so now that we had the Shard of Lust, I think we put it on, on Arya.
I think it may have been on Arya, yeah. It also may have depended on what kind of Ioun Stone was needed to deactivate its terrible, terrible curse.
Yes.
What benefit that
gave. The terrible curse of having to be sexually active. Which is not that bad of a curse compared to all the other shards, but it was definitely awkward that the Pathfinder Society Chronicle boon does not let you deactivate the curses of any of the shards. And so if you had the boon for this one, you have to, deal with the curse in organized play. And that's, 3 times as bad as the actual curse.
Before my time.
That's right. So, yeah, that's basically what happened in the adventure. And as you can see, over the course of the entire part that we just talked about tonight, we killed 1 Incubus, 1 Fiendish Sugathi,
1 Hag.
1 Hag, 6 Gremlins, and a bunch of summoned things got unsummoned.
And other than that, you mostly just convinced things that you or whatever version of Sorshen would get them to listen to you most effectively.
Yes. We convinced things that we were multiple different kinds of Sorshens. And then...
We weren't entirely done with being a fake Sorshen, though.
In the aftermath of all of this, Cordelia brought the sarcophagus, the entire sarcophagus, back to Highmark Manor, where...
If you wonder how is this possible, Memory of Dreams plus a
huge-size Hydra?
Plus a huge-size Pyrohydra is how this is possible.
Plus we took a boat.
Yeah.
She brought the entire sarcophagus back, and with numerous study, including paying for an analyzed armor, we managed to be sure that it really did what we thought, which is murder you, and then put you in a clone of Sorshen. So Cordelia decided that like for science slash magic, and also like for the idea of bringing back like this Atlanti bloodline to her family because she's a noble, that it made sense to on purpose activate the trap.
Also for the ability scores.
Yes, you had higher ability scores because it was Atlanti.
Yes.
But come on, I mean, if you're in Taldor and you are now a true Aslanti, then that means what? You
definitely get some serious social credit.
Your prospects have just gone up, and
yes.
she's also a matchmaker a professional matchmaker, so she understands the situation there. That's sort of what she does in between missions, is help make matches and get people together because she worships Shallan.
And this is the same Cordelia whose sort of PC Pathfinder Society character version is Venture Captain Cordelia, became Venture Captain Cordelia Perseus, who you'll see in some ruled elements. And,
that's right.
Mentioned in certain things, and if you look at the art that was chosen for her when she appeared in
she doesn't have art. Oh, but in the adventure card game,
when she appeared in the adventure card game, completely by chance. Like, I didn't ask for this or anything.
It is the art of this Sorshen from this thing.
The art team chose the art of the Sorshen from this adventure.
Was it the art team? Was it Keith?
Was it
from,
Keith who
from
noticed that was the avatar that you used on the forums?
I used the Sorshen art as my avatar after I switched from like I think I was Carmilla Callas Vasos. I switched to Sorshen at the moment when I
did he pick up for that? Was it by chance based on like her physical description?
What are the chances that the adventure card game randomly picked the same exact art that I used as my avatar without somebody noticing?
It was probably the avatar. But at any rate, that is why the art for Cordelia Perseus in the card game is the art of Sorshen.
Yes, and the reason why there's a Cordelia's construct key in Pathfinder Society Guide is partially the same reason that she collected all of these constructs, although she gets a much better collection as we continue onward, as you will see.
Yes.
The next time, maybe not by next time, I'm not sure if we get one in Kermaga, but she picks up some pretty rad constructs later on as Memory maybe never gets anything quite as cool as his Pyrohydra friend afterwards, but he definitely gets some more animals.
Speaking of the Pyrohydra, did that happen right after this adventure, or was that a little later?
We did Dawn of the Scarlet Sun next.
Yes. So we shall continue
with our... The thing that is just so hilarious that you'll never forget how you worded it happened, I think, after part 4 and before part 5.
Okay, yes, that makes sense. So yes, we did Dawn of the Scarlet Sun.
We were doing slow XP and doing extra quests and missions
as an interlude here because it fit in
really nicely. We were always under leveled during the actual adventures at a lot of the time, but then we used like interludes, and there were like back matter extra adventures of like, here's a mission with serial killers in Magnamar, and then there was also Dawn of the Scarlet Sun, which was a free RPG day adventure that fit in, and so that's why you can see that the name of the next thing that we killed
is from Dawn of the Scarlet Sun.
Is the name of the BBG of Dawn of the Scarlet Sun.
So we will continue with Shadow Star, which is actually Dawn of the Scarlet Sun, being plugged in with our Shadow Star characters next time.
And also, 2 more kills after that is a thing that says, in parentheses, Linda wrote a parenthetical note that says, I told you there was something worse than a fiendish Sugathi.
And we'll get to that.
Because I said there couldn't be anything worse than a fiendish Sugathi.
And once we got to that encounter, it's like, oh, just you wait.
Alright. So, let's say bye to YouTube and then do our outro.
Sounds good.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye.
See you next time.